in general, or helping services in general. And just within my service, probably social workers make up the majority of people employed. You know, we're a pretty large group, but we don't have much of a voice. You know, in some ways, we don't put ourselves out there, and I think that's to do with actually our values, which I don't think we should. Well, I certainly wouldn't want to lose that. But
you can argue that. In fact, I was thinking we should say that about that. That there's a parallel process that working with people who are marginalised and victimised, that the profession then takes on that as a mentor as well and sees itself as that.
I think so.
That's the fatal mistake.
Yeah, it is.
Because you act out the role of the victim.
Yeah.
I said to Bob in the break that I really liked the comment he made about marginalisation being a badge of honour, and I intend to make badges. So next time you come, we'll have some badges for you. So
which reminds me, there's a whole bunch of AASW stuff, including our new mugs, new coffee mugs, for those of you who are coffee addicted.
Can I just add, it's interesting that when you're speaking about people who are saying, oh, you know, you do a fantastic job, you know, your job must be really difficult, and you do whatever. It's interesting that when we're actually working to improve the life of some people, those that then feel threatened then call us, oh, that might be do-gooders.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's interesting that do-gooders become a pejorative term.
Yes.
Like it's seemingly weak and insipid
And it's like, yes, but really demoralising, devaluing.
Yeah.
And you hear that a lot on the talkback radio. Oh, the do-gooders. And I'm thinking, yes, well...
A compassionate society.
But I hadn't heard
it's
those
coming up
reports, so-
again partly because of the government attitudes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's raising its ugly head.
They really have.
And that welfare is now seen as
kids
part
on
of
the
the
head with
problem.
the Vega lollies and that sort of attitude.
The debates about Indigenous, remote Indigenous communities, etc., are quite important for welfare, because what's being seen, what the popular view is that welfare is the problem, not the disadvantage, not the unemployment, not those. That welfare is the problem. So giving
Not the
people.
disconnection from culture.
Yeah, I know. It's a really interesting twist.
I think you had in your presentation the idea of partnership. You know, we work in partnership with our clients, but how realistic is that? I understand the Indigenous context. You know, they talk about no school, no pool. You know, there have been communities where the kids have been upholding their side of the thing, but they haven't had a pool for like 2 years. And but that's not the. You know, I just think it's a really interesting the power of how well the government uses media, and maybe that's something that we need to work towards.
This government, well, probably all governments now, has a very, very clever use of media. Very clever.
I was on the media report on Radio National. They're talking about how each of the ministers has like an Alan Jones person who writes personalised letters to Alan Jones. The power of him, you know, his comments on the radio can affect change and affect.
Oh.
Yeah, and so they really work to. Yeah.
Did anyone hear Howard last week when he was being challenged about the cutting back the Senate committees? And he said we still have a very strong and active media. In a sense, he was saying you don't need Senate committees because the media will do the debates for us. It was extraordinary. It was absolutely extraordinary the way he gave the media. That's the
We need an Alan Jones, really.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I actually saw him after Australia was beaten by Italy. I don't know whether you saw it in the morning. He was terrible. I just couldn't believe what he said about basically that there was a conspiracy in FIFA to have the referees get rid of us, and that we were challenged to. I just thought this
Couldn't be a world game until it's too corrupt.
That's right, yeah, and linked it back to bloody the Italian team and the investigations about match fixing.
Something else that we sort of touched on, and which continues to frustrate me, is why is it that we struggle with this beigeness or greyness? You think about teachers, nurses, doctors and lawyers, any other profession you can think of really don't seem to have this issue. And it seems to me that until we can really grapple with, what is that about, we're going to really grapple with responding to this question. How do we promote ourselves when we're all confused about what we do?
Can I flip that on its head? Which would be an alternative, which is that maybe those other professions, and this is just a devil's advocacy, maybe those other professions have got it wrong because they're not questioning who and what they are anymore. We actually need to and go, okay, the fact that we are reflecting and going, okay, how am I doing? If I can come up with a simple two-liner on what I think social work is, when you're actually in front of somebody and dealing with a situation, you come at it and you think, I have no idea how that fits with my headset, but I know what my headset is. So, maybe there's an alternative perspective, which is that we need to keep questioning who we are and what we are, and if we stop that, we may actually lose something really important.
Because we do value sort of reflexive practice, and so maybe in part that's why we're beige, because we're questioning it.
Is beige such a bad?
Yeah, we should embrace it.
But I guess my response
Not very beige.
my response to that would be, why can't we question that out of a position of strength rather than out of a position of being victims?
Yeah.
Because so often organisationally we talk as if we are victims. If only we had more respect, if only we were paid more, if only there were promotional opportunities afforded to other professions, etc., etc., etc.
I think that's based in not actually looking at other professions, other professions struggle as well. I'm married to a nurse working in the community, I sleep with the enemy. It's not black and white there either. My kids
And the same, OTs are really struggling at the moment because of the boundary shifts as well.
Yeah.
And they're really having to reinvent themselves.
Yeah.
But, we saw nurses over a 15, 20-year period come from a position of weakness to one of great strength.
Yep.
Nursing is a huge profession.
They have the numbers.
Who we compare ourselves
Yeah,
to
but
the
they certainly have the numbers, but they were definitely, 20 years ago, nurses were underdogs.
Don't forget there's more men in and out, then became more...
No, it was the women, it was the women that drove this. And it was the women that actually terrified governments.
Can I pick up on another thing, so slightly, shut me up if I'm dominating, but I think one of the other things as well is we need to be really, we live in a competitive environment and we take that stuff on and start competing. And we go, now social workers have to prove they're different than. And I think that example of the men